Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Angel Baby Kyra. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram. Go follow me on TikTok. Don't know what's going on there. But I do want to start this video off by saying, giving you guys a content warning. We are going to be talking about some very serious, delicate, and sensitive topics. So I will list the topics here. They are abbreviated just because of YouTube community guidelines, and I will be using a lot of shortened terms or terms in place of the actual word, so keep that in mind. So if this is a video that is going to be triggering for you because of a certain topic, I suggest you click off right now. And yeah, so we're gonna get into today's video. I'm kind of apprehensive and scared about talking about this just because of my experiences with this particular fandom. I feel like I need to talk about it because I did get a lot of people following me from doing Melanie Martinez covers. A lot of people know me from doing that, and I do want to say, like, this was in a time where my frontal lobe was not developed yet. I barely turned 25 last year. It's only been a year with my frontal lobe developed, and then when the whole thing started, my frontal lobe was not developed. So a lot of people that are probably watching this, their frontal lobe is probably not developed and probably will hear nothing that I'm going to say. I do want to say that I do have a bias, and I'm trying to present as much factual information, also bringing attention to people who have experienced certain traumas that are going to be mentioned, and just listening to them because they know the red flags, they have been through it personally, and I just want to give them a voice to express their what they think about the whole situation, which is the crybaby era of Melanie Martinez, and the aesthetics, the topics, and just the overall album and contents that it has. Also the infamous coloring book that is now like blowing up on TikTok. So I'm just gonna try to get into it. This is not scripted, this isn't lined out anyway. I'm just gonna try to present everything as my mind allows me to. So the first thing we need to discuss is Melanie Martinez, who she is and how she got famous. So she was born in New York, and she became famous and got, like, you know, was able to get a record deal from being on The Voice, and Adam Levine chose her. Then after The Voice, she didn't win, but she got signed to Atlantic Records, which is the current label that she is on now. Basically got famous off of The Voice. She had her Dollhouse EP with her music video Dollhouse, which was fan funded, and then she also had Bittersweet Tragedy. Sorry, I'm forgetting what's on the Dollhouse EP. I've not listened to it for a while, but I'll put it somewhere here so you can see the rest of the song. Dollhouse was one of her first songs that really blew up, and like I said, as a fan funded music video, it really has aesthetics of obviously doll-like stuff. Her makeup, the whole aesthetic is just doll, cutesy, but then she's talking about a very dysfunctional and low-key kind of abusive family dynamic that she's in. I think that her coming out of The Voice, she did mention that she wanted to be taken seriously as a music artist and not just someone who does covers, which honestly it's a little like jabby to people who do covers like myself, but I get what she's saying. She wanted to be taken seriously as a real music artist, and so therefore she came up with this persona of crybaby. Now there are things that are on her Tumblr from previously that a lot of people have mentioned that are questionable, such as if I can find out, put it here, but these drawings that she made of crybaby and in like a two-headed cute baby. People are like, okay, well, you guys are making it out to be something that it's not. And with that, I think, like, yeah, to a certain point, but also there are certain things that you just don't do. I wasn't aware of this during this time. I was probably like 13, the oldest, when she came out with everything and like left The Voice and stuff. So I wasn't really aware of these things. I wasn't like, didn't know she had a Tumblr. I literally just used Tumblr for like outfit pics or whatever. People have brought that up about these pictures, and of course people are bringing up the coloring book, especially the soap depiction of her song Soap.
It's not been unknown to me that Melanie Martinez is a creep. The Crybaby coloring book by Melanie Martinez is literally depictions of and nobody is going to tell me otherwise. Over the weekend, I listened to some videos and heard different people's ideas and perspectives about this coloring book. I'm going to tag some of those creators who made really good videos down below. Definitely give them a watch, repost them, get this out there. This should not be promoted to anyone. And of course, her fan base is just as toxic, just as problematic, and they victim blame and enable predatory behavior. All of her supporters make endless excuses and reasons behind why this coloring book is appropriate. One of the excuses that gets me the most is that this coloring book isn't even marketed for kids. It's marketed for adults, so what's the big deal? Do you guys think that kids are into child sexual abuse material? Adults are into it. This coloring book shouldn't exist at all, but it being marketed towards adults doesn't make it any better at all. It honestly makes it worse. And then, of course, we have the classic one that everybody likes to say, you're pointing out creepiness? That makes you the creep. No. Pointing out something that is highly inappropriate and predatory behavior does not make us a predator. It makes us actually want to prevent children from being harmed. One of the creators that posted a video about this specifically without mentioning the coloring book talks a lot about how images are portrayed and that a child in the bathtub is just that. But when you stick soap in its mouth and you put a certain expression, you know what you're doing. When you are an artist, you know what you are portraying. There's some inspiration from somewhere and you are drawing. It doesn't just turn out that way. It doesn't just turn into the child inappropriately posing in a tub with soap in its mouth. That doesn't just happen. You created it. You knew what you were doing and what you were trying to portray. I'm going to give an example of this. We can see here in the Where Hands Go book by Crystalline Diggs that you can easily portray children in a bath without making it creepy, without making it child sexual abuse material. Artists know what they are doing. I don't even feel comfortable sharing any of the images from the actual coloring book on my platform because that's how serious child sexual abuse material really is to me. I don't think that we should be promoting it or putting it out there for anyone to see, whether it's an illustration or an actual photograph. So I will not be posting any of the coloring pages that I am referring to in this video, but I do encourage you to go and find them and look at them, and other creators that I have tagged below have shared those images, so definitely go take a look at them for yourself because it is definitely.
So if you look at the Crybaby album, there are a lot of songs on there that are talking about very serious topics. As someone who is a diehard Melanie fan, I listened to every single song, watched every single interview that I could find, watched every live performance I could ever look for on YouTube. I understand when people are saying that her songs have a deeper meaning, and she uses a lot of metaphors. I don't know if allegories is the right word for it, but mostly metaphors on topics and using kind of like a play on words or a play on phrases as well. So I completely understand that. Melanie goes into this aesthetic of like Lolita, but even some Lolitas are saying that her style was not Lolita, but definitely inspired by it. One of her first like live taped performances at Carousel, I'm pretty sure that is a Lolita dress, and she's obviously very famous on The Voice for wearing a bow. That was kind of her signature, along with her split dyed hair. On The Voice, she would wear a lot of like twee aesthetic kind of things, so her aesthetic definitely shifted from twee to more of like baby Lolita 50s 60s kind of inspired dresses and silhouettes. That I feel like that's what I saw was happening, was she was very inspired by the 50s and 60s kind of aesthetic, which I think she chose because a lot of the norms during the 50s and 60s were like a nuclear home, a mom and a dad, no gay marriage, wife is expected to stay home, expected to fit the beauty standard, etc., which is things that she talks about in their songs. During this Crybaby era, obviously we get into also the allegations with Timothy Heller, which I don't want to get into too deeply because I feel like this has been covered so many times, and this is not what this video is about. But she also has that where a lot of fans also turn on her, I guess you would say, and we're destroying all her merch and burning stuff and posting it and blah 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 blah. So that's a whole different video on itself. But her Crybaby era is one of her most infamous eras, I would say. Probably more infamous than Portals, or at least it would be up there with Portals. I'm not gonna argue on that, but she really did hammer in that Crybaby is a child and Crybaby is also her. Also writing on things that she had been through, which is mostly, she said, pertaining to love stories, the ones about like relationship, but also writing about things that did not happen to her at all.
There, and you performed Dollhouse and another song. So where do you like to get your songs? Is it like a personal experience, or tell me about your songs?
Well, the album that I just put out, Crybaby, has been kind of a 1.5 year process, and basically it's just like the whole inspiration was like childhood themes and pairing that with adult situations. So whether it was something that I went through or someone else went through, it always had to be like an adult, like an adult story at the core of the song. And like the outside, like the facade was kind of like this like bubblegum, like pastel, like little kid, like kind of, coating around it, I guess. And so like I would just think of titles like Dollhouse and Carousel and Milk and Cookies and Tag You're It and all these like little kid, things or themes, and I would just think of things to relate it to in my life, whether if I was going through it at that moment, or just stories that I would make up. So like basically the album is called Crybaby, and it's this character based off of myself. And she's like a little girl, and it's like just telling the story of like her, in the beginning she's like super vulnerable and she's really insecure, and then as time passes and as she goes through really crazy things, like she gets kidnapped and like she escapes and like poisons him with like milk and cookies and stuff, and like just like stuff like that, she becomes stronger and more confident in her own skin. And I think that the time from the beginning to now, I think that I've made the same kind of change in myself. I think that I've become more confident in myself in writing the album.
A lot of them describing a dysfunctional, abusive childhood, which she admitted she did not have that kind of childhood. She had a pretty good childhood. Interview after interview, she does say like she tackles really hard topics to talk about in pop music. She also says in one of her earlier interviews that she doesn't even like pop music, and that she would rather have people cope through her music than have people just not have a deeper meaning with her music. I feel like that is one aspect that you have to take in consideration of her intention also, which is a lot of people's points, is that her intention was to spread awareness, to talk about things that are kind of taboo to talk about in mainstream pop music, which I just don't think that she's even into mainstream pop music. I feel she's like mainstream alternative music, even though that's kind of contradictory to the genre in itself, but I feel like she's more alternative pop. And a lot of her music and lyrics have kind of innuendos in it, and also plays on obviously childlike themes like milk and cookies, cake, carousel. And she explains a lot that she writes childlike themes with adult scenarios. I feel like, and a lot of people feel like, should not go together at all. And even if you look at her very first kind of original music, she has this one song called A Million Men, which is something that a lot of people bring up, and she said it is about her watching a documentary on child, so she wanted to write a song about it.
And it's really, it's a serious topic, so I hope you guys like it.
Miss Maggie was way too young to understand why she got thrown into someone else's hands, why she woke up a strange man. They tore her to pieces and she couldn't.
I personally didn't see anything wrong with that with it at the time. I know a lot of people find it weird that she's like writing about these kind of things that she hasn't even experienced herself, but also I'm like, kind of like storytelling, or like even like in movies, like a lot of things aren't real and they're a fictional story, but about like real topics that happen. So I'm kind of leaning over towards that end with that song in particular. But other things that she does, like training wheels, the lyrics are pretty explicit, and all of this is to say that Crybaby is a child. People's argument against that is that, well, it's a child that is Melanie herself, so she's literally drawing herself as a child and depicting herself in these music videos as a child. And obviously in Crybaby, she's in a high chair with a bib, mimicking a baby. She's also in a crib mimicking a baby, and also on Pacify Her, she's also mimicking a baby. I think they're like crawling around or something, and then she flashes the boy with her chest, which a lot of people also have a problem with, is that she's doing all of these adult things while simultaneously portraying a child. And I think that's where a lot of these people on TikTok come in talking about their thoughts on the whole situation.
The Melanie Martinez coloring book is absolutely disgusting, and if you're defending it, I am severely judging you. There's only one kind of group of people that would be interested in coloring pictures depicting children having objects shoved into their mouth or taking a bubble bath and looking uncomfortable and scared at the same time. And this is just further proof that even women can be predators. Because I have some questions. Why did Melanie Martinez think this is cute and funny? Why is this like her whole brand is like sexualizing children? And now I've never been a Melanie Martinez fan. I couldn't even tell you one song of hers. All I know of her is everything bad that I see in the media. And every single time I see something about her in the media, it has to do with essay allegations, or I'm seeing sexualized drawings of children and just weird stuff like that. And so to the fans defending this behavior, I have to ask why. Like, why do you think it's okay to produce that kind of material? How can you justify that? There are so many things that you can put into an adult coloring book that is edgy and might even spark some controversy and make people mad and blah, blah, blah. If you want to be that kind of person that's all edgy and pushing the limits, involving children in that does not make you edgy or pushing the limits. It makes you a pedophile. And I don't care that this is just drawings of children and it's just depictions of children, because it starts there. I have to know who had the idea of that in the first place. I genuinely want to know who thought it would be a good idea and sell well to depict a child in a bathtub having a bar of soap shoved in their mouth while they look terrified. Who is that person? I genuinely want to know, because they need to be looked into. Sexualizing children is not edgy, it's not cool, it doesn't make you cool. It simply just means that you are a predator. And it's genuinely so disgusting to me that so many people are defending this, because I have to know, why do you want to draw a picture of a child in a bathtub getting a bar of soap shoved into their mouth? Like, what about that is so funny to you? What about that is so artistic to you? There is never a time when artistic creativity should ever jeopardize the sanctity of children. I do not even want to hear anybody in the comments saying, oh my gosh, well, it's just you thinking of it that way. It's just you who sees it that way. Or you're just letting your trauma dictate how you perceive art. No, y'all just can't see pedophilia when it smacks you in the face. Making any kind of art or media that puts children in any sort of suggestive light makes you a predator. It makes you somebody who should not have access to children. Like, investigate immediately. And honestly, when are we going to get to a point in society where we do take these art forms seriously and we do actually start investigating these people who come up with all of this art from their head, just from their head? It's just my creativity. I want to see where you drew that inspiration from. Exactly what inspired you to create that coloring book and those particular pictures within the coloring book. There has to be some sort of an inspiration, because normal people do not just think about drawing naked children getting soap shoved into their mouth. She's not making edgy art. She's grooming y'all.
I'm gonna be so honest, I'm actually pretty annoyed that this video right here is the one that decided to blow up. And sure, it's still like an eyebrow raising sort of observation. Like, it is eyebrow raising and concerning in correlation with what is being discussed surrounding Melanie Martinez. But this is like a very small part. It's really just an observation that, of course, we should keep in mind. But the reason it annoys me is because since this video is blowing up, her fans are commenting, and you know, people who probably aren't fans are also making these comments like, what's so sexual about the dress? Why is it weird for her to wear that? You guys are the ones sexualizing her theme. And it's annoying because I have this video right here that actually shows way more blatant examples of her sexualizing her child character and childhood trauma. Like, this is the video you guys need to see. Like, sure, if you have a problem with her purchasing from that baby kink store, or if you don't, that's not my issue. My issue is everyone's ignoring this fucking video. In the video where I just make a simple observation and correlation to this discussion is the one being pushed when there is more explicit examples in this video right here. And I just don't have the time to repeat the same thing and tag a bunch of people. And it's interesting that I do tell people to go and see this video or tag them and come back to the other video, and of course they don't say anything because what's in this video is undeniable. And of course there are still the fans who watch this video and are like, what's the problem? This is nothing, because they are so deep in their idolization that they don't see the problem with one of my problems actually, again, her doing the WAP, wet ass pussy, a dance made to emulate riding dick to a song about child rape. Like, it's just denial at that point.
Look how easy it is to depict the kid in a safe way. Look how easy it is to depict the kid in a safe way. Look how easy it is to depict the kid in a safe way. This is the last video I'm making about this, and this comment perfectly sums up the point I was illustrating in that video, which is that I understand that the point of the coloring book is to like coincide with an album. That's fine. The coloring book illustrations can have meaning. The job of the artist is to make sure that when you are drawing kids, you are depicting them in a safe manner. Kind of like, you know, how easy it was to do in the first couple of images I showed. It is an unspoken rule as an illustrator that you take extra care when depicting children in any kind of context, so that they cannot be perceived as anything other than a child. So that the context they are presented in isn't anything to be misconstrued, right? You have to be 100% sure that what you were doing is okay. You have to be 100% sure that the way you draw kids is safe. There are a million different ways that a couple of these images could have been drawn, and the care just wasn't taken. The illustrator who did it deserves to be held accountable. Melanie Martinez deserves to be held accountable. Everyone who oversaw this and approved it deserves to be held accountable. And if you still can't have a little bit of nuance, then I know your favorite movie is Cuties.
What?
For putting this out into mass media, like literally being signed to a label and using that funding to publicly put this art out there. I think the question is like, when is it art? And then when is it something more sinister and saying like this is art? Because you also have to look at things like Balenciaga with the photo shoot. Things were purposely put into place there that a set designer, photo assistant, that Balenciaga, the brand itself, a director, the creative director, had to approve and say, let's print out these documents about this case trial, about a child's case, and then let's put a book of an artist that is well known for depicting children being harmed. Edgy art can be done in, believe it or not, a tasteful way, and I am a firm believer that art is meant to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. I completely 100% agree with that. Where do we draw the line of things like depicting children being harmed, in Melanie's case depicting a child in adult situations, in suggestive, in the bathtub, soap stuffed in her mouth, like the ducks look kind of evil on the side. I get what people are saying, that like, oh, you don't listen to her music. A lot of these people that are saying the CSAM, a lot of the TikTokers do admit that they have not listened to Melanie's songs, which I feel like they should have at least listened to it, because I feel like that's what a lot of people who are siding with Melanie are like, well, you didn't listen to her song, so you don't understand because that has a deeper meaning. And the coloring book in question is also like correlated with the songs that she has on her album. Even like if it does correlate with her album, like visually, there's still like a way to go about it. Everyone is freaking out mostly over the soap coloring page and then the Big Bad Wolf coloring page as well in her coloring book that was released probably like 9 years ago now. I could be wrong, but it's a very long time. And people are saying, why are we talking about this now? Why are people having a problem with it now? The reason people are having a problem with it now, oh gosh, my voice, is because we were children during this time and we were eating this stuff up. We obviously didn't see anything wrong with it because our frontal lobe hadn't developed yet. The reason why people are talking about it now also is because the fans are again older, and anytime anyone tried to say anything about it, they would get shut down, they get bullied, horrible things happen to them. So that is why people are talking about it now, because they feel like because TikTok is going to be banned, they might as well just like air out some stuff that they feel about Melanie Martinez. And a lot of people had dug up a lot of stuff, including one creator that I saw. She actually found out where Melanie got her, not costumes, but her dresses from for certain performances. I think for a music video, but I'm pretty sure performances. And I know exactly what performances these are. I believe one of them was at the Bowery, I think in New York or something. It was like a venue. I remember seeing her wearing that. And then another one that she was wearing at a different one. I just remember seeing it on YouTube. But these are from an Etsy shop that specializes in certain things.
I'm gonna make a longer video right now, but I think you guys need to see this. Because now that I've learned this piece of information that I'm about to show you, I think Melanie deliberately knew what she was doing in regards to her themes surrounding her child character and her sexualizing this character multiple times. First of all, shout out to Chewed Gum Girl for sharing this piece of information with me. They will be tagged in the description. So this is a dress that she wore for her Pacify Her music video. If you saw one of my last TikToks, I did speak about that music video. Here is another shot of the dress. So I was able to find information on this dress from the Crybaby Amino. This was posted back in 2017. There's multiple pictures of it and it describes where she got it from. Oh, she got this dress from this Etsy right here. Do you notice something? ABDL clothes. Adult Baby Sissy Little is what ABDL stands for. Here's more of the clothes that they sell for adults. Anyway, if you already don't know, you might be thinking, what does Adult Baby Sissy Little stand for? Yeah. Originally, I was hoping that she was mostly just being ignorant and self-absorbed when it came to her past work. But there's no way that she didn't know what she was buying. I feel like the description of the store and also what they were selling was very obvious. Like you had to have been looking for that to wear. And this Adult Baby Sissy Little thing is plastered quite literally all over it. And also she wore this one. Shop's link for this one is broken because I assume they don't sell it anymore, but here was the link to it. I don't know about this one.
That I cannot say because of YouTube community guidelines, but I will put it there. And this shop that specializes in certain things, these dresses range from $150 to $200. People are saying, well, it's pretty obvious that she did that because she's into that kind of stuff. Completely made me believe that she is, or she at least was, because there's no reason for you to be shopping at that kind of Etsy shop. The creator said in this video, you can totally just get it handmade somewhere else. I've seen a lot of dresses that are like baby doll dresses that you can get, I don't know, literally anywhere else. Like there are people on Depop, there are people on Etsy that make dresses. Going out of your way to go to this shop in particular is a little weird. And I know people are saying that Melanie had a stylist. Okay, but she still had to okay these dresses. You get what I'm saying? No matter what, her stylist, her team, her manager, blah blah blah, she still has to okay everything. That's what people aren't getting. You can only blame other people for so long, to the point where it's like, okay, when are you going to take responsibility for all the things? Like, you are the artist and you have the artistic vision, so like, you know, like, you have to take responsibility for something. Regardless if she had a stylist, she still had to prove it. She could have told her stylist, no, I don't like that, that's kind of weird, you got this from whatever store. She had to literally tell them, okay. The person who is the artist of the Crybaby coloring book, Chloe Terzingi, I messed up the last name really bad, but Chloe, she drew it for Melanie. So people are saying, well, she drew it, Melanie didn't draw it. Melanie still had to say, okay, I thought there was a kid on a plate, like, as cake. At the very least, Melanie was not able to execute her idea in a tasteful way, at the very least, and she did not intend it to be CSAM, and at the very worst, she knew exactly what she was doing, and she was grooming her child audience, and she made it normalized for children to see these kinds of things, especially when she's using childlike themes. Of course, your audience is going to be mostly children, because what do they gravitate to? Childlike things, like any other child would. And reading a lot of the comments, I feel like a lot of people are realizing the impact that her baby era music had on them, and also going over to her K-12 movie that I had eagerly awaited for so long. I remember being so excited for it. A lot of people are also citing they're getting her and Alita are getting off the school bus and their dresses go up and then it says something inappropriate on their underwear, sort of like showing their underwear. Mind you, they're all supposed to be children, so they're adults all playing children, and it kind of gets blurry, like the lines, especially with Crybaby, of like how old Crybaby is, because sometimes Melanie depicts Crybaby as a literal baby, then also depicts them as a young child, then also depicts them kind of like as a preteen. So kind of going through like this kind of age range gets super blurry, and you can't like really pinpoint it at some time. Having the love story of like Soap and Training Wheels as a child is a little bit weird, and I get that's her whole aesthetic. Like, I'm reminding you, like, I get it, her whole thing is being weird, it's being different, it's being outside of the box, it's challenging social norms. Like, I understand that, but there's a way to do those things without involving children being depicted in questionable things. Like, if you even have to like question it, I don't even think it should be out there. Recently, on her Portals tour, her choreography for that song in particular, which is a song about a student and a teacher having a relationship. Obviously, that is not okay, especially with the power dynamics, a teacher and a student. It's just never a good thing. Teacher taking advantage of a student, and the student realizes that that's the teacher's intention, that they don't really care about them. They made them think that they cared about them. Basically grooming. This was kind of like Alita's song, kind of like her sing, if I remember it correctly. And during the Portals tour, Melanie chose to do this during the song. I remember listening to the song when I first heard it. It did make me uncomfortable, but I brushed it off, also being like, well, it's Melanie, of course it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be uncomfortable. And now looking at it also like as a mom, it's really kind of disturbing how she chose to do that during her Portals tour for that song in particular. And I think the whole thing of like K-12 is like a good message, and it really helped me get through a hard time that I was going through with school and stuff like that. But Orange Juice depicts like, you know, someone with bulimia, someone with an eating disorder. A lot of people have their thoughts on that like she shouldn't be profiting off of things that she hasn't experienced, which a lot of people seem to have a problem with, because she is kind of making this idealization about what it's like to go through these traumatic things. And I agree with like her principal's office, I think it's called, and just the various like, you know, through the institution, like school's a scam, blah blah blah. I get that, I understand. But the other parts where she's profiting and kind of showing images that could be used for various things is questionable at the very least. And people are saying, well, it's not like it's explicit, it's not like it's showing anything. Thing is that predators will use any kind of thing that they can get a hold of. It's never explicit. It's just like everyday things, and that's why children need to be protected.
First of all, there is no such thing as child corn, or as you say, child gorn. it is always child sexual abuse material. Second thing you need to know is that child sexual abuse material is not always explicit. In fact, a lot of child sexual abuse material is non-violent and non-explicit. I do not care if the drawings are supposed to be depictions of herself as a child and her trauma. I don't care if it's actual things that really happened to her. That is wrong to glorify that and put it in a book. That's not healing. That's not healing from your trauma by encouraging other people to draw pictures of it. Believe it or not, victims can turn into abusers and groomers themselves. And this is exactly what we are seeing here. I think survivors should be able to artistically express themselves in any way that they feel necessary, as long as it does not harm others or perpetuate the same violence that they themselves went through, which is what she's doing. Drawing depictions of violence against children using AI to create images or videos that depict violence against children is wrong, because this kind of art, this kind of media does nothing but further harm children in real life.
Oh my God, how does the coloring book or AI generated things actually harm real children if it's not even real children in those artistic media forms?
You think Weird Joe down the street is gonna stop after he finishes that coloring book? You think Weird Joe down the street is gonna say, okay, my limits are only AI generated things? You don't think Weird Joe is going to become so groomed and desensitized at this kind of media that y'all are defending that he won't try to do something with a child in real life? That is some naive thinking. Very naive.
And that's why I choose not to post anything about my child on the internet with his face shown. I'm even apprehensive of just like, even when I block out his face, because people will find any way to use certain materials to do really awful things. That's just something that is known by people who do work with these kinds of people and have to put these people away, that it is always like the kids' Instagrams, you know, that are managed by parents, vlogging channels that like vlog every single day, including birth, family channels. One comes to mind, Jacqueline Wren. She was just feeding her a corn dog or a hot dog at the fair or whatever. You gotta pick up on the cues, and I think that a lot of people who experience CSAM or any kind of other thing related to that, like facing the dark, she really puts a good perspective on it and a different one to look at. Because no matter what, whether or not is Melanie being depicted as Crybaby is still a character that is a child. Well, you can draw whatever you want and that isn't CSAM. No, because that is putting ideations into people. People are going to say, well, you can't, that's the parent's responsibility to regulate whatever a child is seeing and materials. And I get that, but also it's like, if you know that your audience is mainly children and you're selling your stuff at places like Hot Topic, which is something that preteens go to, young children go to, whether or not you want to believe that, but they go to those places. I think it's becoming more prevalent to ex-fans that, hey, that's not okay, because real people go through this and real people are struggling in life to even just like function or have a normal life. And then here's Melanie singing these songs about things she's never experienced in her life, and people are gonna say, well, she's coping from what? Because she never went through any of this. People are saying, oh, the abused become the abuser. She never went through this. I just think that's interesting too, that how when she transitioned into portals, she kind of made obviously a new character, because now Crybaby is dead or died, and now she's like this fairy creature. And I've noticed that it is to differentiate herself from her past, and what I mean by that is not only her album, but also allegations and also just like other things that she was criticized for, not including also the NFTs, the thing with Oliver Tree not speaking out, and she has like a habit of just like not speaking about anything, and people are starting to see through her kind of facade that she has put on and that we were under while we were children. And I think that like realizing that she's also just a person, she does, you know, people make mistakes and people do bad things and they can always choose to get better. But I feel like there's just so many things about her that are just like really, really bad, I guess, like that are just like, you have essay allegations and then you have this whole thing of your Crybaby era that you publicly put out there, profited of off of. A lot of ex-fans are realizing that this contributed negatively to their childhood and to them growing up because they're exposed to certain communities, exposed to certain ideas. You can see in the comments, like, these children would go to bat for her and they don't even understand why. They're just so parasocially attached to her that they think that she can do no wrong, and that is dangerous. I think she knows that her fans will do anything for her just because they have this like kind of trauma bond with her. People do have a right to say something about it, regardless if it was 10 years ago. What does that have to do with anything? Like, yeah, it's been out, but like more and more people have gotten the courage to like talk about it. To be fair, Melanie has addressed it once in a now deleted Instagram post. If I can find out, put it up there. Basically talking about pop surrealism and kind of addressing the people who are saying that she sexualizes babies. So it talks about pop surrealism and being like, if you can't see more deeper than surface level, you just won't get her art. And she also does credit these certain artists too that are interesting, and that also kind of is like damning in her kind of allegations in this kind of community.
I mean, yeah, considering I was the one who brought it from Twitter over here, I have heard about it. And I was actually just looking at a video where people were talking about it. It's just insane to me that people say that, oh, it's innocent and da-da-da-da, when she's clearly inspired by art like this. Pointing out that she is a fan of Nicoletta Sassoli's work, as well as Mark Ryden. Nicoletta making very, very questionable art, such as this one, and you can see this one down here as well. There's also rumors that she's inspired by Trevor Brown, who constantly depicts children with their chests out or barely covered, as well as BDSM, children partaking in BDSM and childlike objects. And her fans will always go back to, you need to know the meaning of the song, which most people who are talking about this know the meaning. And her fans really harp on the meaning of the song when the meaning of the song doesn't matter. You should not need your song meanings to be explained by visuals in order for it to come across the way you wanted it to. And the depictions by themselves are situations that children should just never be depicted in, because we have a duty as adults to make sure that when we depict children, even if it's not a real child, that these depictions are not harmful to children. Because there are people out there who, whether or not it is your intention behind the media, will misinterpret what you're putting out.
She says that this is what her art is pop surrealism. You know, she has every right to defend herself, you know, like, I will give her that. She can defend herself and she can do whatever she wants. But I think it's really interesting how she's pivoted from this crybaby persona of a child to this, like, more ethereal, kind of fairy-like persona now. And that's so much that she wears prosthetics and, like, a whole kind of, like, rebrand, to be honest, because there's nothing very reminiscent of the crybaby era in her Portals era at all. She just really wanted to get rid of crybaby. But in K through 12, she's credited for doing the costuming and doing the makeup, the hair, I believe, and doing part of the directing too. And she's also directing music videos, which a lot of people will say, again, her previous like co-workers or people that she worked with have said things about that she's hard to work with and blah blah blah. Jasmine Bean said something about Melanie that they weren't the nicest to them, but then they just followed each other just to like, get people to shut up basically about it and to stop asking them about it. Currently, I feel like there's kind of this new awakening, if you will, about Melanie Martinez and kind of the questionable things that she has put into her artwork and to put into the public and kind of characterize herself as. And I think that is the reason why she wanted to kill crybaby, was to just get rid of everything that ever suggested that she was in this community. I do think that she has damaged a lot of young kids, preteens or whatever, as far as their mentality and also just what they were exposed to. Again, of course, it is the parents' responsibility to regulate media, but at the same time, she kind of made it harder because a lot of parents look at crybaby or the coloring book and be like, oh, okay, let me get my 12-year-old this coloring book because it literally looks innocent until you open the book. Reviews on the coloring book saying this is not for children. They're really upset about it, blah, blah, blah. All that to say is is that I think listening to people who have went through these things and that know the red flag, I feel like it's important to listen to them and what they have to say instead of just like arguing about it and just trying to defend your favorite parasocial person relationship that you have, because I don't think it's helping the case that she doesn't talk about it either. She doesn't like address it. The only time she's actually addressed something was with Oliver Tree, and that took like years for that to happen. I think it's only because she was under the same label as Oliver under Atlantic. I don't really think it's because she like actually cared. I think it's just because like she was forced to like say something about it. It was after like got an interview and it took a toll on his mental health. So like just all of these things that add up together is just like, what are we gonna do about it? Like, I don't know at this point, because she has profited off of so much and has made so much money. Even though she said that she's going to debt, whatever, she was able to buy a new house because someone was stalking her. But I think that listening to the people that have been through this is the most important thing to do, and to not invalidate their experiences, because saying to someone, being like, well, you're just looking at it the wrong way, oh well, you're the one that's making it seem weird. No, I don't think that we're the people that are making it seem weird. I think we're calling out the fact that this is what CSAM is, that is used by people. I think just like completely shutting down the people that are talking about this that have been through CSAM and similar things like that, I just think that's not okay. That's not very logical to do. And I think that it really makes people not listen to survivors or to victims, and just invalidating it is just like, I don't think that's something that should be done. And the fact that Melanie has never, like, to my knowledge, has never like said anything about SA Awareness Month or has donated to any organizations like that. But again, we don't know what she does in her free time. She could just like donate things and we don't know about it. Some celebrities do that. And I think the reason why people, when their children were so gravitated towards Melanie, was because she seemed like she was different and kind of played the savior of the weird kids, of like saying like, I'm crazy, ha ha ha. We got Mad Hatter, which used to be one of my favorite songs, saying like she's psycho, she's crazy, oh so quirky, I'm crazy. And I know Ashniko does that too. I know, I'm aware of that. And also people saying that, look at the Nirvana album. Yeah, that's not okay, you know, that's not okay. Also, Sunny Angels. I think the intent of Sunny Angels is not really to be CSAM, but I can see how someone say that, but I feel like it's more of just like a share-up. And QPie, there's a whole history about why QPie was created, and I love the Manies too, so I think it's very different situations, but definitely the Nevermind album is not okay. I don't even like the diapers, like the children on the diapers, it's kind of weird, or like those kinds of commercials are kind of weird. There's so many other things, so it's just like, you can say, okay, well, Melanie Martinez did this, but what about, she's like, well, what about this? I don't know if people understand, but two things can be true at one time. My camera battery ran out, so sorry, but like I said before, like Melanie's branding is so sugar-coated that like any parent, I feel like, would be like, okay, yeah, sure, you can listen to that. A lot of people are having trouble getting past that this is their childhood favorite, that this is their comfort person, that this is someone that they looked up to, this is someone that saved their life. Like, there are so many comments that are like, Melanie saved my life, I'm never gonna hate her, blah 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 blah. But it's like, you have to look past that and see the things that she did contribute to that probably were harmful to a lot of people.
And I brushed it off. I thought, well, that's, you know, maybe it's just because there's similarities in their features. I'm talking teenage, young, youthful mother, Melanie Martinez. There's a similar vibe there in how they look, but there's a similar vibe there, period. When I saw Melanie on The Voice, I thought, I should think that this person is interesting or quirky or unique, or like the doll sort of aspect of it I should find endearing or interesting, and I did not. I was not interested. I very much had the vibe of like, no. And then years ago, there was information that came out about Melanie, an essay, and I just was like, well, okay, you know, obviously hear the trending sounds, and I know about this coloring book. Exactly what I'm talking about when I say that these people hide in plain sight. This is exactly it. It's not okay. It's inappropriate. It is an aesthetic that is specifically, I mean, to make yourself into that, the aesthetic and everything about this okay, I just keep starting sentences and stopping them because this is hard to talk about for me. I think there are ways that people connect to their childlike selves that are healing and wonderful and appropriate. And then there are people that use that idea to hide in plain sight. I have always felt that that is what Melanie was doing. And this coloring book is 100% not okay. There's no part of it. The depictions are not okay. Pushing the boundaries in this way and playing this like, oh, it's like, I've seen the defenders of it, like, and that it's, you know, it's the fact that it's a coloring book, the fact that the things that it's so pointed. Well, I'll just say this. My mother would have loved this coloring book. She would have taken the colored pencils and markers that she bought for me for my birthday and went to town on it. Who is the audience for this kind of material?
I think that's all I have to say about this situation. Kind of feels validating because it's always been a voice in the back of my head as I grew up into my 20s and thinking about it like, no, people just don't understand her. No, people just don't understand art. Art's meant to be disturbing. But to what point is disturbing not okay? I think that's a question that we need to keep in mind. Also keep in mind as artists, as creators, as creative people, keep in mind what message we are getting across, because everything is done for a reason. Like, everything is so meticulously done, especially with someone like Melanie. I feel like just from her interviews, from what people have said about her, how she explains things, I feel like everything is very intentional. So that being said, let me know what you guys think. I know this was a bit of a longer video, but I just wanted to get everything in there that I felt like was important. If I miss anything, let me know. I don't really want to make a video about the Timothy Heller allegations, just because it's kind of triggering to myself. But if I need to, I will. I feel like I should donate some of the revenue that I get from this video to organizations that help those who have went through CSAM or Child SA and stuff like that. So I will see how much I make on this video, and then I will post it on the communities tab and let you guys know how much I will be donating, because I still got things to pay for. I got to feed myself. Like, it's just how it is right now. But I will be donating part of the revenue to it, and if I make enough revenue, then I will donate it, because I don't want to just donate like $5, you know. Like, I want to donate something that's going to be more substantial to an organization. Even though I know they probably appreciate $5, I would rather like have a bigger donation that's a little bit more substantial, so maybe like $50 or something. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please be respectful, and I will be deleting and blocking comments and reporting comments that are not, so don't even bother putting them out there, because you're going bye-bye. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Let me know what I should do in my next video. Hopefully not something like this, because it's really hard to make. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
She said, huh, would you try so hard to be different, so stuck in your own head? You say you can't comprehend anything less. He says I'm not good enough, not gonna lie, took it kinda rough. At least it could be honest for once, and so he says he's had enough, but I